you're very open about therapy. You've talked about it on here already. Like just in your life and on your platforms, you're very open about therapy, which is something I love about you. But when you started working on yourself in that way, what were some of the hardest patterns or beliefs that you had to unravel as you went through it and as you started up?
I think just the diagnosis, which is still kind of a, complex PTSD is something that I've learned a lot about throughout this journey, and how, traumatic experiences, both my parents had battled addictions. So there's a lot of instability in my household with my primary caregivers. That I'm still working through. Currently, I've been doing EMDR treatment, which is psychotherapy. That it's been awesome. Seth was my partner now, was somebody who took me through a lot of these types of experiences. Is just being able to tap into the past core memories that you carry in your subconscious. And being willing to talk about them, right? Because we all have these things that are shoved deep down there. We have these embarrassing moments. We have these, traumatic experiences. We have these things that have happened to us that impact the way that we respond now as adults. And we talk about parent insecurities. A lot of those come from unmet needs in our childhood, or things that we develop as we get older and don't realize that we're carrying those extra baggage with us. And it's something, I battle all the time in parenting and my marriage. Is what part of me is showing up? Is it the 37-year-old man who has, quite a bit of wisdom to bring into a conversation? Or is it the 14-year-old kid who is triggered because of this situation?
Who's still inside the 37-year-old man. Like, he's still
100%,
there.
100%. And that's part of, again, I'm not preaching to anybody you have to do MDR, you have to do a specific therapy, but I think as I started to understand how those younger parts of me impacted my personality and how I interacted within my relationships, and my lack of emotional regulation in certain situations, it just, as I've learned more about it and I've started to work and make these adjustments, you're like, man, it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. You know what I mean? But this younger part of me still needs to be worked with and processed in a way to where I'm aware of that trigger. I'm aware of that moment where I feel that rush in emotions, and it takes me to a place that I don't want to be.
And I think the thing that we don't realize is that for all the beauty that youth sports bring, they also hold up a mirror to the insecurities we've buried deep inside of us. And those voices that we thought were just gone and not there anymore. And the reality is, if we don't name those insecurities and if we don't acknowledge them, those insecurities are what start to run the show. And they shape how we experience these years as sports parents. They influence how we act on the sidelines. I mean, those insecurities drive the conversations on the way home. Like, all of those things are based and rooted in things from our past that we may have worked on, we may not have worked on, but they come up. And when they drive the bus, that's when bad things happen. And what I'm so adamant about is the insecurities aren't bad. They're like, there's nothing wrong with you if you have insecurities. That just means you're a human being. But we have to name those insecurities, because when we shine a light on them, they lose their power. And they're like roaches and cockroaches that they run back into the cracks of the walls once we shine a flashlight on them. But if we don't shine that flashlight, they're still going to creep around the outside and influence what we do.
Yeah. And back to my therapeutic journey, it shows up in, the moments where we're rushing our kids out the door. And I had one parent who was 20 minutes early or you're late, and I had another parent who was very much not that way.
Yeah.
And so, experiences that I had with my dad were showing up in, my 6-year-old son who, he needs 30 minutes to tie his cleats and get all of his gear. And I'm trying to get it done in 5 minutes. And now I'm getting mad. And now, I'm yelling, and now we're in the car and we're going to we completely blew the whole opportunity there to build a connection, right? And create a safe space. And I think those insecurities are things that, when I partnered with Seth, he had already written this book, and we've reframed it. It's titled Hero, and we were talking about this via text. We want parents to understand, based off our conversation, how being a hero in your child's youth sports experience is not by getting them to the major leagues or getting them to a Division I scholarship. It's you being willing to use this experience to look in the mirror and shine the light on those things that are impacting your ability to connect with your child, especially in the 0 to 10, 0 to 13 age group, because we all know that I don't know if it's 85% of the time we're going to spend with our kids, right? Is in that block of time. And now we're Now we're filling the schedule with all the things that we fill the schedules with. That I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty. You and I talk about it. We do it too. But it's like, how are we building in the time for us to continue to grow and evolve as parents and as people? And youth sports can be a wonderful vehicle, right, for our kids to learn these life experiences. But we as the parents have to be willing to do that work, have to be willing to challenge ourselves to evolve our thinking and our approach to the important moments, like you said, the car ride to, the car ride home, and what we experience on the sidelines when we watch our kids play. Because I don't know many, if any, parents that actually don't feel any emotions, right, when they watch their kids play. It doesn't mean emotions are bad. Like you said, nope. This is a human experience. But what are the thoughts and emotions that are driving the behavior, right, that leads to the moments where we're actually doing damage or we're doing harm to our kids' experience? And I think for me and Seth, as we work together professionally, and now we've been building this company, it's really to help parents understand, right, what we're bringing into the experience, and then how can we unpack that in a way that's going to impact our child's ability to enjoy and find joy in the sports that they play and build a stronger connection, instead of what I've seen a lot in my community of friends that I grew up playing with, and you know, the thousands of teammates that I've had in my life. You have a lot of relationships with a parent that becomes toxic in sports, and that leads to long-term damage. I've seen it from an addiction standpoint. I've seen it from a suicide standpoint. I mean, these are things that, you know, are the worst case scenarios, but I think we don't recognize that how impactful these core memories are that we're making with our kids in sports, and how that leads into, you know, self-image and self-love and self-worth as they become adults.
Yeah.